Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Don't mind my current situation. I'm filming right here and my hair is kind of a mess, but that's because I haven't been feeling good lately. It's not COVID, but it's some other issues, so I am trying to be as productive as possible in the midst of everything, and it's getting a little bit colder here, so I need to adjust to the changes. And a lot of you actually requested me to talk about Dune. My students, especially from Asia, are really big fans, and I will probably. I need to like try to read the book or like go into the subject a little bit deeper, because so far I've seen the movie, but I don't know really what the movie is about. We haven't had like a sci-fi movie in a long time, and so I'm not a big fan of Star Wars, but I am a big fan of The Fifth Element. So you can watch that one if you haven't. It's a French adaptation with Bruce Willis and Mila Jovovich. So for me, like any new sci-fi movie has to meet the standard of Fifth Element. For me, that was like the ultimate sci-fi movie. But Dune is actually from what I've seen, it's a different feel. This director, Denis Villeneuve, he is a little bit more artistic in a way that the shots are longer, they're wider, they're more like paintings. If you like stop Dune in any moment, you will get like a perfect image, a perfect composition. So, but does that make a movie? Yes, but there are many other elements, not just like the visual um, style. For me, he's more similar to Terrence Malick, like The Tree of Life and Interstellar, those types of movies that are really kind of not a lot is happening. You have to kind of really think deep when you watch it. It's not an easy movie to watch. It's not funny at all, so there are very few jokes. It's a very like tough story. So there are a lot of the things that go into it, and I'm not going to talk about it here, so it's going to be for another video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a movie that I'm personally very invested in. It's called Nomadland, and this movie was made by a wonderful Chloe Zhao. She's a Chinese-born film director, and some of the movies that she made before were about American life and about the living in the far west, about Native Americans. So she really, before making Nomadland, she was very invested in the American landscape. As you probably know, or maybe you don't, Nomadland won the Oscar. And I actually cried. So I was so excited because when I was a film student, I actually made a movie that was similar in theme with Nomadland. It was a documentary movie, actually. So I think I have it on my YouTube channel so you can watch it. It was about the crash of the factories and what happens with workers and what happens with the community when the industry breaks and people are left without anything. So where do they go? But Chloe Zhao has this aspect of the American wilderness, of loneliness, of being nomadic, being without home. She's painting the beautiful landscape of the American West. At the same time, talking about deep, deep social issues that are happening in the society. So I think just the fact that the Academy and all these people voted for this movie and recognize it as Oscar worthy, without being a blockbuster, without having any like famous crew. There was just like nothing mainstream, nothing popular about this movie that you could. It was not probably anyone's cup of tea. You wouldn't watch that to relax, Friday evening. It's a movie that has like a social comment, and Parasite as well, the Korean movie, also has a social comment. So I think we're leaning more towards these movies that kind of have a strong message. So without further ado, the movie follows one character. She's a woman in her 60s working with her husband and living in a community that was related uh, with this, I think, oil plant or power plant. It was like a big company, a big corporation in the middle of nowhere, and all the workers were living together there. So it was a community. And so I think her husband dies. She has not yet reached retirement, so she still needs to work a few years more, but the factory closes and they need to move out. So they're left without anything. She is not retired yet, so she needs to work. And now, where do you go? And so she packs her life, and she decides to move into a van and to just become a nomad. And from there, I think this happens somewhere in Colorado or like a state far north. And then she moves down, I think, all the way to Arizona. But she's like around the Rocky Mountains and the desert. So that is the area that she covers. So it's, as you can imagine, the climate is so rough. And even like for people who live in normal circumstances, it's very hard to be living in these areas. But she's somebody who's living in a van, and she packed her whole all the memories that she had, and she's trying to kind of live despite of the circumstances. And the first job she finds is actually in the Amazon. So she's packing packages, I think, in the Amazon. And this is the first time that we actually see, I've never seen this before, how does this like a big warehouse where all the packages are being stamped and sent to be delivered. So there are workers from everywhere who just kind of need fast money, or they need job, so they decide to work there. And she meets some friends there, but most importantly, she meets friends along the way. So she's not the only one, and that's where we see that she's not the only one that has this situation. So there are many others who are nomads as well, for one reason or the other. Some have lost their jobs, others have lost their families, they're lonely, and they meet in these camping grounds. So along the way, along this trail, along this road, there are several camping grounds where you can actually park your car, park your vehicle, and you have like electricity, you can shower, you can cook, you can like socialize with other nomads as well. So they exchange goods. It's more like getting back to the roots, getting back to the way we used to live before. It's like, I will give you sugar if you give me flour, or like I will give you, glasses if you give me an umbrella or something. Like, it's a very organic exchange between these people, or somebody who decides to get back home. They give out all their stuff, so you can find new things there. In one of these camping grounds, I think this is in Arizona or Utah, she's actually met with this community of people who are kind of giving lectures and kind of educating people on the nomadic life. And this is where we see that actually there are more nomads that we know. So there are more people in this kind of situation. And if we think about America, if we think about capitalism and how all that works, so there are many holes in which you can fall if you don't meet the standards of the society. So if you're jobless, or if you have a disability, if you have any type of illness, if you don't have medical insurance, and it's very easy to become, this is like next to homeless, right? It's a nomad. You still have your van, so you're technically not homeless. So there's one leader who is educating that the relation between the workers and the factory is broken, because you can get fired at any time, no matter how long you worked. But you dedicate your whole life to this one place. There has been so many cases about, not just in America, but all over the world, where syndicates in factories are not strong, so they don't protect their workers. They don't have any obligation towards them. Actually, when I was working mostly with Japanese students, they've told me that in Japan, like a lot of the companies have very good plans, very good packages for their workers. So it is that you are working long hours and that you are dedicating your whole time to this factory or company, but at the same time you receive a lot of benefits and you can be sure that you're not going to get fired. In America, that is not the case. So if the factory decides to close, or the market is not there anymore, if they're in debt or if they get bankrupt, they just fire their workers. So there is no safety there. The main character that we're following her from the back for the most part. So we're kind of looking at her in this environment, in different environments that it's like a human against nature or with nature. And the shots are very beautiful. There are a lot of sunsets, a lot of sunrises. The desert is beautiful to film. So Chloe did a very good job in portraying the nature and the beauty of living freely as a nomad, but at the same time, the struggle of living like that. So the main character, she has a daughter, I think, but or a sister. I'm not really sure now. It's been a while since I watched it, but she's not homeless. She has a family that she can go to, but it's just the pride. It's not about that she's lost. It's about the principle that this was done to her. So she needs to kind of find a reason what happened and how can she recover from it, because this is a big trauma. So in this community, they're talking about what is to be a worker, what is to be an individual in the society that kind of is not there for its people. It's a little bit of a radical point of view, so you can agree with it or not. But for these people who are in the community, who are nomads and who are meeting there, it's pretty relevant, and it's true that they are kind of outcasts. Some of them, like I said, are terminally ill and they don't have medical insurance to get treatment for cancer and other diseases that they have. So you will see like a lot of different destinies. Some of them were ex-veterans from war with PTSD, with different issues. So they all found like consolation on the road. They agreed to become nomads. And at the same time, it's a little bit, this is interesting, it's also a workshop on how to survive in the nature. What do you do if you're a woman and you get a flat tire? Or how do you find food? Well, there she meets a very nice man. He's widowed, but he has children, and I think he lives in California or Oregon, and he invites her to visit him. And so she does that, actually. She comes all the way to the West Coast, and he is not openly saying that she can stay there, but kind of there's like an emotion between the two. But she's still mourning her husband, and she's not ready to kind of get emotionally involved. So she just kind of observes the ocean for a while and decides to get back on the road. And the next thing that she does is she goes back, and this is how the movie ends, actually. She goes back to the place where she left from this small community, and she walks through the factory that is now completely abandoned, destroyed. Her previous home as well is without windows. Everything is shattered. There is no furniture. And she walks through the house and she gets into the van and continues traveling. So I have to say, when I was deciding to film abandoned industrial places, I was only 23 years old, or 24 maybe. This was something that everyone was like, really? Aren't you making like a love story? Or like, why are you interested in these kind of abandoned places? And I was like, well, that's like a scar on our face that we have to see, like, why this happened and what to do with it and how to help these people. So it's not just about like this being visually ugly. I think art and definitely filmmaking is not about making everything beautiful. There is beauty, and I actually I took some photographs from these places that we visited. I found some very beautiful shots within the whole abandoned um, workspaces and halls. It was something very emotional that we never expected. So a few people came with me, and we saw like the coffee mugs that were left on the table, and they were sitting there for like 20 years with coffee inside. And then we saw documents and like eyeshadow of the secretary in the compartments, and we found like different objects like newspapers, calendar that was like marked on the last day where the factory closed. And so all of this visual material gave us the sense of like how one community ended and their lives got a new direction. But the thing also is that all of them were left without payment. So they had families, some of them um, didn't take it well. So it was like a destruction of the whole system and of the whole community. And so in the end, in America, I think, because America is so big, these factories kind of just get abandoned, and you have so many abandoned places all over America, not just factories. You also have like buildings, asylums, hospitals, schools. So for me, the question is like how to repurpose that. One of the very good examples was Manchester, the city in the UK. They actually were the industrial city, and a lot of those factories were closed for some reason. And they converted them into production spaces and to different they repurposed the buildings. For me, it's about a full circle. So when something is closed or unused, it should be repurposed, and that's how you kind of close that circle. Maybe you give it another meaning. So if life became very tough for these people, maybe their children will be able to use these spaces in a different way. But Nomadland as a movie doesn't answer any questions. It doesn't give any ideas. It just depicts and shows. So Chloe is very silent director, as I like to call. So she's with her camera always looking from a side and observing. I think that's the beauty of female directors, that they are very sensitive to a lot of these um, changes in scenery and light, very subtle shots of details that are also very beautiful and important. So when you watch this whole movie, you're going to be immersed into this character. You're going to see her almost always in the full frame. You're going to follow her story. Ultimately, I think since we are in this pandemic and the situation is as it is, I think more and more people are getting back to nature. And this movie can be very inspiring for those who are maybe feeling sad of leaving a bigger city. It can show you that humans can live with nature, and we can use it, and we can change the scenarios. And at the same time, living in a van seems like a very romantic proposition, but it also shows you how difficult it is, to sleep without heating when it's like minus 20 outside, and to find food, find parking, to just kind of maintain any kind of relationship on the road. There's so many challenges, so it gives you like the pros and cons of that life. Since we used to live in the time of big consumerism, where people were discussed to buy something that was used and reuse it when it comes to clothes or um, any other object. I think that we have so much in this world already. So why constantly crave and buy new things? Why not kind of learn maybe new skills? Instead of like buying a new hat, you can make it. You can learn how to knit or crochet or whatever. You can repurpose your things. You can sell and buy. I remember when I was in college, I think, I would buy secondhand clothes a lot. And I would also wear my mother's clothes. And for me, like, it was not, I didn't feel good just to spend a lot of money on like one piece of garment or shoes or whatever. And then somebody told me, like, how can you like carry somebody else's bag, and like how can you put on somebody else's shoes? And I was always like, for me, it's even better because that garment has had a life, so it has a history. And if as long as it kind of looks okay, and it's not completely destroyed, um, same goes for shoes. Like if they're wearable, if they're not too used, if they're not destroyed, I it's for me it's okay. So there is also an element of consumerism that you can think about. I know in Japan, things that are, the older the thing is, the more valuable it is. Of course, if it's broken, it has a beauty because it was used, and that's true. Like if you as I get older, I cherish more things that were handmade, that were made by somebody, that were given to me for a special occasion. Like I said, handmade DIY things instead of like buying something that was mass produced. So there are many, many topics that this movie opens. Like you can think about it and practice English just by answering all of these questions. If you haven't thought about that before, you can try to think. And probably this is something that you can talk with your colleagues at work or like your peers in school. Or you can write even an essay about this movie. It was very popular. And just like the fact that they won the Oscar, Oscar being the most important prize for filmmaking so far that we have. So it was just a big success, like I said. For me, I actually watched this movie a year before the Oscars, when it was just like not even considered as a candidate. And I said, wow, it has like such a powerful message that I think if the Academy recognizes this, it's going to be an amazing point in history. And that happened. And also, she's a female director, so that's additionally very valuable because I think she's like the second female director that won the Oscar. And she's also Chinese, so she is somebody that was not born in America but managed to understand the country so well. So anyway, go and watch it if you haven't, and I will see you soon in the next video. Enjoy and study English and subscribe. Yeah, talk to you soon. Bye.